what I realized was I needed to actually set a goal and actually decide I'm going to do this and then work toward that goal and sort of reverse engineer it.
Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rock Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Scott Voker, a serial entrepreneur on a mission to help you. This show is designed to teach you, to inspire you, to motivate you to take massive action and build a future-proof business. So, whether you're just starting out or taking your existing business to the next level, this is your home. Now, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's rock your brand. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. This is episode 909, and I am super excited you're here because we've got another great guest on this Wednesday edition of the Rock Your Brand podcast. His name is Judson Morgan, runs a company now called Butter.la. It's a great name. And he helps businesses actually grow their sales with video. So who wouldn't want to tap into that, right? But you know, on these Wednesdays, these episodes, I like to dig into people's stories. And that's really where we go with this. We dig into his story so you can see that he was once an actor, going after being an actor, and then things happened. You'll hear the whole story. And then he's seen his path going somewhere else. And we also talk about the struggles. As he was newly married and his wife was also, an actress and, just some struggles there internally. And he gets really vulnerable, which I think is awesome because, well, we don't see that a lot. We don't see people letting you, kind of peek behind the curtain and know that there's struggles when you are building and growing and learning. And you're always going to have these, but it's really just really interesting to me to be able to hear all of these different stories over and over and over again. And I always pick up something new. Now, we will dig into video in particular because that's what he specializes in now. I mean, let's face it, someone that was an actor can kind of talk about like storytelling and how that can help our business because people buy from brands that they know, like, and trust. And when we can convey a story or we can kind of intercept the conversation that's happening in their mind, have a much greater chance of doing business with us. And that doesn't matter if it's a physical product, digital product, coaching. It doesn't really matter. It matters about making that connection. So we talk about that as well. Now, before we do dive into this episode, I wanted to let you know about something that we just wrapped up, depending on when you're listening to this. We are always talking about creating our own assets in our business. Well, we just got done creating a full training on creating a digital product creation workshop. We just wrapped it up. If you're interested in learning more about it, head on over to brandcreators.com/digital. It's a full workshop where I'll walk you through exactly how to create your first digital product and get your first sale within 30 days or less. That is the goal of the workshop, and I'm super excited for you to check it out. And again, if you are thinking about promoting your digital product, you might want to think about using some video. And today's episode is going to help us with that because we do dig into some storytelling things here with Judson. It's a great conversation and just an overall great guy. So sit back, relax, enjoy this episode with Judson Morgan. Hey, Judson, welcome to the podcast, man. Super excited that you're here. How's it going, man? How you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. And it's funny, you and I were talking and, I didn't realize that before we got on here that you were actually a listener of the Amazing Seller podcast years ago, way back in the day, right? Like
episode 1, baby. I think I listened to the first probably 30, 40. It was epic because it was very tactical. It was very much like, this is actually what you need to do. Like you can get into, there's so much, like how you feel about this and all this stuff. But every once in a while, you just need, okay, do this. Take this next action. Yeah. And Scott, you're just the best at that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And, it's funny that you bring that up because I remember thinking to myself, like, I was struggling to find a podcast or content that was specifically telling me what to do. So I'm like, I'm going to figure out what to do and I'm just going to report on that. And I'll blow away the market by just being that tactical. And that was kind of my strategy in a sense, but I just seen that there was a void in the market. And I think anytime we see that, we want to try to fill it.
100%.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
You know, that's kind of like what, and then obviously it just morphs into whatever else, you know.
But I think you're doing that now. It seems like you're still doing that, where it's like there is a little void in the market for the stuff that you're actually delivering now. So you're doing less tactical Amazon stuff, and you're doing more tactical, like build your email list and build off of Amazon and all those things, which there's a void in the market for that.
Yes.
So it's totally,
It's funny that you say
Smart.
that too, like with content, and then you have like, you know, do this tactics and all that stuff. It's funny because I just wrote an email this morning to my list about, like, I don't know about you, but I'm seeing like summits everywhere. Like there's a summit here and there's a summit there, and do this summit and that summit. And summits they're good. They can be really good. And I have friends of mine that run, you know, really nice, great summits. But in the same breath, it's like, do we need another summit with 20 plus speakers for me to sit through and not really get like tactical, but get like really super high level? Do I have 20 hours to sit through that? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I came up with, like, okay, the workshops that I'm going to do fast track workshops where we're going to learn in like 3 hours. We're going to implement in 24. Right. It's like, let's just get down to work, baby. Like, let's just do it.
No, it's like you go to a summit once a year, twice a year. It's the high level stuff. And then the other 300 and whatever day, 50 days, you got to be in the tactics and the grind and doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And we need a coach who's helping us get like day to day. Okay. What do I need to do today? Here's my list of 7. Here's my okay. And out of that list of 7, this is the 20% that's going to give me 80% of the results. I'm going to boom. I'm going to tick this off. And then, by the way, actually those bottom 4, I don't even need to do, because I did the top 3, which actually are the ones driving results. Right. So we need people talking us through that every day for sure.
Yeah. It's funny too. I also wrote, like, in the email, I was like, now, you know, consuming content is not really building your business. Now it can, but you got to consume and then do, right? Yeah. And it's like consuming, like, people think that they're just consuming more. They're like, I'm learning, I'm building, I'm learning, I'm building. No, you're not building until you dig a hole and you lay the concrete and you start building the structure. Like you can learn all you want in the classroom, but until you get out in the real world and start implementing, that's not when you start seeing results. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right. So now that we kind of ranted a little bit on that, because I love doing that stuff. You brought it up, by the way. Anyway, Joe Valley from Quiet Light is the one that introduced us. Yeah. And he said, you know, you got to get Judson on. Great guy, number one, first and foremost, family guy like you know, very same kind of, you know, thought process, but you're doing some pretty cool stuff and you got a pretty cool story. So I'm like, always looking for good stories on the Wednesday episode. Yeah. So let's kind of go back in time a little bit. Judson, give us a little backstory, like, you know, where you came from and kind of what got you to the point where you're at today. And we'll talk about the in-betweens and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So come to discover that I was always an entrepreneur. You know how you don't, as a kid, you're like, I bought the candy bars from Costco, a whole pack of them, and then was like, oh my gosh, these are what is like, you know, 30 cents per when you actually buy the whole pack. And then you go to your junior high and you sell them for $1 each. You're like, dude, I'm like making like 40% profit. I didn't realize that I was I didn't realize that I was an entrepreneur, but I was doing that back then. I had the candy bars from Costco in my locker. People come up, you know what I mean? So I've always been an entrepreneur. Yeah. And so I've been 2 things, entrepreneur and a storyteller. So I always found a way to like sort of create stories and do, and a lot of that in the beginning was through acting. So I was an actor. Oh, wow. And yeah. So, nice. I actually have a master's in like acting and directing. And I went to New York City because, you know, good actors who want to like really do the craft, that's where you go, right? Right. You don't go to LA. That's a sellout. I live in Los Angeles. But yeah, the real actors, you want the method, you know, we're talking about Al Pacino type acting, you go to New York. Yeah. So I went to New York. I actually did really well, succeeded there. I got a Broadway show, was on Broadway, met my wife. Nice. And we got married, and then her career led her out to LA. So we ended up in LA. I discovered sort of like pull the veil back from Hollywood, right? And Hollywood and Broadway and these things. And you're like, wow, this is not the life I want. There's so much bad with the good there that I was like, this isn't what I want. And I realized, so that entrepreneur part, I was like, you know, I'm the product as an actor. I'm trying to market myself. Right. And it's like, and I discovered that I wasn't a great product. know what I'm saying? My wife, on the other hand, is a great product, and she's had an incredible career and still is an actor. But and actually Joe Valley, he knows my wife and her TV show, and I think they have some connection from the past, like back in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. But anyway, I've always been an entrepreneur, always been a storyteller, and I went behind the camera and started discovering, like, oh hey, this is actually better. You're a little bit less beholden to the no-sayers, and you can. So as an actor, you basically have no power. You can't take action. You have to wait for people. And you just have to wait for somebody to say yes here. It's a terrible business. And so I ended up moving behind the camera, and then noticing that brands, like big brands to small brands, they all needed filmmakers and content creators. And so from there, sort of created an agency where we create content so we take Hollywood filmmakers and we say, hey, Hollywood is a bunch of bull. And we tell them, create content for brands, and it's actually super fulfilling. You can actually make a living. It's actually something that you can take action and monetize instead of like waiting around for 10 years to make your film. You can create something for Microsoft or for Sierra Nevada Brewing Company or for Target or for all the brands that are on Scott's podcast. We do work for little brands to big brands. And so finding a passion for storytelling for brands has been something that, has really ignited me over the last decade. So that was sort of the beginning to end story there. That's where I ended up.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's funny how things they take you in a certain direction. Like you wouldn't have known that if you weren't in the acting career, totally. And you didn't go down that road. So kind of okay. So at what point, so you go out to New York, how long were you in New York?
5 years.
Really? So you were right in the city?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I lived on Bleecker Street, downtown.
Oh, okay. Cause I was in upstate New York. So I was about 4 hours.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was outside of Saratoga Springs, Albany, New York, that area.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice area. Now I'm in South Carolina, which I like it. I like New York. My wife's actually going to go back there soon because she loves it so much, wants to see the mountains, all that stuff.
Right.
I'm good right here. It's nice and warm. Taxes are low. So all the good stuff. But I like New York. But so you go there, you do this, and then you get this realization. What do you do to pay the bills after you decide, I don't want to do this acting thing. I got to wait for this thing. How do you fill that? How do you fill that in? And did you have kids at that time yet?
No kids yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So
little more nimble there then. A little bit.
Yeah. We were a little more nimble, and to be totally honest with you, and this sort of dovetails into the struggle, where the struggle happened and where the challenge happened. My wife was succeeding as an actor, and so when that happens, you actually can make money. Like it's 99% of actors or people in Hollywood make no money, but the 1% makes a nice, you can make a nice living. So she was doing well and did a bunch of shows, and that was sort of paying the bills as I tried to figure my stuff out. And so as men, I think out there, or maybe, all women know this too, wives, husbands, that when the wife is the breadwinner, that can present some challenges in the dynamic. And so it did in my marriage. And so there was a time where, as I was trying to sort of figure out where I wanted to be, or where, because I could never work for somebody. I was an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And I needed to figure out my own thing. Like, how could I actually make a nice living? And so during that period, it was challenging. Like, we went to therapy, we were talking about it. And this is the hard part, it was there was a moment where I was like, I don't know that our marriage is going to make it. And it was many things, but one of them was this financial piece. And so I started listening to podcasts, actually. And that's when I found Scott too, and I found two things. One, that I was able to start monetizing this filmmaking thing. So I was able to start working for brands and really serve them, really say, what do these people need? And how do I tell these brand stories? And that started working, but it wasn't like I was getting rich right away. Right. And it's also, that business is, it's sort of trading dollars for hours.
Sure.
Right. So at the same time, around 2016, 15, 16. That's when you started the podcast, right? 16?
Yeah, it was around 15.
Yeah.
It was end of 15, beginning of 16. I think
That's right. Yeah. So that's exactly when I started. So I discovered the Amazon, the sort of FBA model through you guys and other podcasts, and started a business. So I have both of those, the agency and the business now. Okay. And through the combination of those things, it was part of the reason that part of the way that I saved my marriage was sort of figuring out how to really build a business and really provide for my family in a way that my family needed, you know? Mm-hmm. So now I have an Amazon, I have 2 Amazon companies actually, and this agency. So, it's a nice combination.
Yeah. I kind of want to speak to the, which I think is a tough one, because I was there myself, is when the other person in your relationship is not just earning the money, but like the leader in a sense. It's hard. So here's how my story worked. It was like, I was the breadwinner after my wife left her job to stay home with the kids. Right. So I was the only one supplying the income. And then when we decided to start our own photography business, then my wife became, not that she was the breadwinner because we were equal partners, but she was the one she was the one people are coming for. They weren't coming for me. Like, I was the guy that was, making the kids laugh, and I was acting goofy. I was on my W-2. It was like, make silly faces for kids. Like that was my W-2. At the time, I didn't care, because I'm like, I'm not working my 9 to 5. This is what we want. But then it starts to become the point where you're like, man, I don't feel like I'm like contributing. I don't feel like I am doing as much as she is. And I feel like there's a void there. It didn't get to the point where we had a relationship issue, but I did voice that to her. I did say to her, I'm feeling like kind of less of a man, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And she understood it. And now look at, like, we left the photography world, the business, we turned it into a digital product business. And then we both did that together. But in the same breath, to your point, we worked through that. And now it's almost completely the opposite, where I'm doing my thing and she's kind of helping and assisting in the community side of things. So yeah, it's real, man. And I think people listening, like, you might be experiencing that, or you may eventually. The biggest thing I would say, and I don't know about you, if you got any advice for that, but like, just be open and honest with your partner. Let them know where you're at, man. Like, what would you say? Like, what, I mean, I know you said even therapy, like all this, like what is something that you feel like if you were to go back again, you would have said to yourself, like, do this and it'll help you?
To be honest with you, I feel like, I grew up in, grew up in California, and, sort of middle income type family. My dad was a professor in college. We never, wanted for things, but we weren't wealthy. But I never understood the importance of, sort of providing, providing for my family, my wife, in the way that she needed. And so it took, some serious, like, knocking on my head, therapy, my wife, like, communicating with me in a very open way, like, about her needs. And so, for me to be like, cause I thought, I'm going to do good stuff in the world, and whether it's like filmmaking or acting or whatever, and then the money will come. And that's not, and I don't think that's true. I think I think it's important for people to think about, how do I want to actually provide? How do I want to provide for my family? And if that's, becoming wealthy, if that's like, I want to make 300,000, I want to pull in this much per month. I think those are things that, what I realized was I needed to actually set a goal and actually decide, I'm going to do this, and then work toward that goal and sort of reverse engineer it every day, take action every day, and say, okay, so what I had to do, so sorry, I'm a little fumbling around here, but
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Let me give you this tidbit, everybody. I think you want to pivot until you find your thing, and then go. And then you got to take massive action. And each of those pivots is action. You have to take the action. You got to say, like, I'm going to try this. So I tried acting. I tried commercial filmmaking or narrative filmmaking. I won some awards. So I was like an award-winning filmmaker. It made sense. But I saw behind the veil and I was like, wait a second, dude. It took me 2 years to make that film. Blood, sweat, and tears for 2 years, and I pocketed $10,000, and that was incredible. We actually got on Netflix. We got distribution. Like 99% of films don't even get that, and I pocketed 10 grand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I made 4 cents per hour.
Right.
You know, and you have to just, reality is your friend, and you got to be like, I'm gonna pivot until boom. So when Amazon started working and when commercial filmmaking started working, I was like, I'm gonna go. And I devoured content. So one book that really transformed my life was the E-Myth, E-Myth Revisited. Have you read that one?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah. So that one, like if you're at the stage where you're like solopreneur, you're like doing that grind, and you can't sort of figure out, you can't conceive of how I could like outsource some of this work, how I could like build a team. That book's incredible. That transformed my life because, you know, as a filmmaker, I can only make as many films as I'm able to be there on that day, or I'm able to sit there at the computer and edit. Right. So for me to discover, oh, I can hire an editor, I can bring in a team, I can like train. So I spent 2 years training guys in the way that I think about story, the way that I think about brand films. And now they're out there in the world doing it for me with the company, you know?
Right.
So that took time, but yeah, so I would say pivot. And then when you feel it, you'll see it, you'll feel it work, right? You know what I'm saying? You'll see that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. This one, I hit some roadblocks, and then this one, boom, this one's working. And then you go, and then you take massive action on a daily basis.
Yeah. And it gets exciting when you find that. But I will say, I said this the other day too, to another guest. It's like when you're here, you think when you get up here, you're going to really enjoy it. And then you get there and you're like, that was cool, but I want something different. Right. Like it's just, I think we're always climbing. And a perfect example is this podcast. You started listening when it was The Amazing Seller. Now it's Rock Your Brand podcast. It's pivoted. It's changed because my focus has changed. Right. Yeah. The market has changed. And what I want to do moving forward has changed. Right. So it's like you said, pivot and be ready, because there could be another pivot or even a slight tweak. Right. It doesn't be a complete pivot. It's just like, okay, I'm serving this part of the market. I don't want to serve that part of the market anymore. I want to serve this part because that's where I get fulfillment right now.
Yeah.
Right? So let's dig into like this new company, or newer, I should say, like the company that you're excited about right now. It's in video. It's helping a lot of e-commerce businesses sell more product. You're seeing some really incredible results. Let's dig into that. And I'll probably get you to come back on another time where we can just devote a whole episode to really like giving some tips and tactics that people can use in their business. But where did this come from as far as like that you're like, wow, this is something that's needed. I'm going to go ahead and run some tests, and then, wow, it's actually working, kind of lead us through that a little bit.
It's funny. It was during that process where I kind of didn't know what I was doing. And, I was making films and music videos in the industry in Hollywood. Right. Okay. And I was asked by a couple of brands like, hey, could you do some stuff for us? And so I was like a little bit of a backdoor into it. And because I was a skilled storyteller, and I was good at that. And I was good at sort of doing things on a budget that people were impressed by. And so they said, hey, can you do X? Like, so it's a little bit more of a corporate video. And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I can. And so seeing that and seeing how there was a big need. And then when I did those corporate videos, and a lot of the corporate videos are really, really cool. I mean, they're like short films, or like, these aren't like, some terrible interview of some guy talking about some lawyer stuff or whatever,
Right.
Some of those we did, but I saw, oh, wow, they actually pay. So, and I saw, oh, wow, that's a $30,000 budget or whatever. And so, I backdoored into it, and I was smart enough to be like, oh, wow, this is an opportunity and this is working. And that's when I sort of went into it. And, over the last 3-4 years, transformed where it was just me making videos for clients. And we've done major clients like Microsoft. We did this like little documentary for them, and we've done major things, billion-dollar companies. We have like 3 clients that are like billion-dollar companies.
Wow.
But I started seeing like there's a big need, and I started building out a team. So now we have a team. My company's called Butter. And you can go to butter.la because we're in Los Angeles. And that's where you see sort of, if you go there now, it's like our landing page, which is all about e-commerce. So what we've done, so we did a lot of hotels, actually, Shangri-La hotels and Lowe's hotels. And because of COVID, they basically shut down, right? So we were already pivoting toward e-commerce because the world is pivoting toward e-commerce.
Right.
So we were a little bit ahead of COVID there, but once COVID hit, we were like, boom, we got to go e-commerce 100%, right? Like we were supposed to travel the world on all these shoots for hotels, and that all got shut down. So we were like, okay, we're going to fully, we've been doing a bunch of e-commerce brands, but let's like fully embrace that. And so we've been doing all kinds of tests, all kinds of clients for e-commerce. So we do things like we will take let's say you sell on Amazon or your Shopify, and we'll like look at what you're doing and what your funnel is or whatever. And we'll come and sort of diagnose like, hey, okay, we think you can do this and this and this here. Your landing page is converting at X, it needs to convert at X. And then we can create this kind of content for Facebook to let, all the stuff that you talk about, Scott.
Sure.
We do all that kind of stuff. And, primarily with a primary focus on video, because that's what Facebook wants. That's what Amazon wants. I mean, these platforms want video. They're crying out for video. Video is the thing that converts the best. And there's a place for all of this stuff, but there's an opportunity in video because it's a little bit harder to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The entry to barrier is definitely higher.
Yes.
Especially if you don't have the skill set, or even the simplest thing is like, okay, I can't edit my video. I can't trim my video. It's like little stuff like that people can hire a VA, whatever. But I think the one thing, and I do want to dig into a few examples, but the one thing that I think is a massive skill set for anyone, and I'm tipping my hat to you, because storytelling, it's like copywriting, right?
Yep.
It's like, if you know how to storytell, if you know how to do copywriting, you pretty much can write your own ticket, because you're going to be able to take an ad and convert it and make it to work, get it to work.
That's right.
And that's everything. So there's one thing that I've studied over the years is definitely copywriting. But storytelling, I'm always trying to learn more on storytelling because I know how important it is, right? We don't want to be sold. We want to feel as though we made our own decision through story, right? So give us some stuff on that. I'm going to pick your brain just here while we're like storytelling. Like, what's some basic frameworks that you see that could help someone that has video or that wants to use video? Like, and again, we have a short period of time because people are like, their attention is everywhere. What's some things that you like to incorporate in a brand to get people's attention so they can stop and consume your content?
Yeah. Yeah. One of our foundational principles for our company, Butter, is start with story. So when you're thinking about, like, just like you said, it's there's a reason why at the end of the night we want to turn on Netflix and watch a show, right? It's because you see this narrative playing out, other human beings, and you're able to process, your subconscious is able to sort of process and go through some horrific event or some awesome, incredible thing that you see on your TV show without actually having to go out and do it. And you can learn the lessons through the story. And, there's a reason, like things like, ancient, spiritual teachers, like, the Bible or whatever other religion, they use stories, right? They use stories. So it's massively important. And I would say, so to give you a couple tips on like how to create a good story, you want to engage with your customers' emotions. So when you think about, and what do I mean? So when you think about highlighting, let's say it's a physical product and you want to talk about the benefits of that product or the features, the benefits are about that person. The features are like, oh, it's this long, or it's this big, or it's made out of gold, or whatever. Right. That's not an emotional connection. But it's like, this is going to take you from, from being like overweight to being feeling incredible and getting a woman of your dreams, or right. And the difference between positioning your product, whether it's a digital product or a physical product or whatever, about the way that we talk about it is, you are the guide. You're the guide, and the customer is the hero. So you want the customer to be the hero, not you.
Mm.
Right. So when you talk about features, that's you trying to be the hero. When you talk about benefits, that's them being the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's for copy. That's for storytelling in your videos.
Mm.
So you want to engage emotionally. You want to be the guide. You don't want to try to you don't want to try to be the hero. And I think, you always talk about this, Scott, but I think you want to have in all of your content. So whether it's copy or videos, you want to have a hook, right? So you want to start out with something that really, it's either like a pattern interrupt. So you're on Facebook, you're scrolling. It's like, what would stop? So I'll give you an example. We did this, this hair brand, and we were doing a video for them, and it's about like brassy, getting rid of brassy hair.
Okay.
It's a great brand, and it has like a story. And we were like, okay, what if we have like a trombone blast this girl's face off, and her hair just goes poof, and it's like, and it's brassy. Obviously, it's a trombone, which is the brass, and her hair blowing. And we had the opening of the video is like, boom, she just gets blasted with this trombone, and it's like, oh, who's not going to stop and watch that?
Right.
Everyone is going to stop. It's because it's like, wait, what's happening? But it completely makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense for the product, and it's not a random thing, right? It's like it's part of the story, right? We told the story, but in a way that was a hook. So those kinds of things, and that video killed it. So we had another video that we did, and this video actually, I think the budget was $3,000, which is very low. And they made $600,000 of revenue off this one video. So they used it as a Facebook ad.
Okay.
And we shot it vertically, so it looks native. It ended up being like a vertical video. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're live.
I thought I did the.
It's all right.
Let me get rid of my notifications. Okay, so we shot it vertically, and it was an older woman who was in her kitchen, and she was like in a bathrobe. She looked kind of funny, but real, not like a sitcom, but like leaning in that way. Right. She opens up a briefcase, and it was like just piled with money, $5,000. She's like, she opens it, and just like it spills everywhere all over the kitchen. And she says, what do you think this $5,000 can do for you? And it was the difference between the price of them and their competitors. So then we went into like kind of a long form video, but it was this like old grandma. Well, I guess that's the same thing. A grandma with $5,000 in a briefcase, and she dumps it all over. So those kinds of things are like great hooks, but they make sense, right? They're part of the story, and you're like clearly saying, you got to watch this. So those are a couple tips I'd give you. I
like that. Yeah. So the next question that I would have on that, so is like, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but let's kind of play. Let's do a little play here. So basically, you do the one with the trombone, it's brassy, you blow someone's hair, it's going all over the place. You get my attention. How do you turn that into something that makes sense? That's the trick. Like, I think we could, I could go in my boxer shorts and do a little dance and then get attention, but how does that turn into something that someone would be like, oh, it makes sense. Yes, I'm interested.
Yeah. So the next thing is, right after you get their attention, you present the problem, and it's got to be a problem that they have. So we talk about targeting, right? So we're talking about Facebook ads right now, but you can do this elsewhere. But as you talk about, Scott, you got to, you can go in and target that person who has already looked at like, brassy hair products or whatever. You target them and you say like, hey, we know you have trouble with brassy hair.
Right.
And the person's like, oh my gosh, they're talking to me.
Right.
So trombone, present the problem that that person actually has. Yep. And then you present the problem and then the solution, and the brand, the product ends up being, you got to use this. And then you say why, right? Here's the reasons why. Here's why we're better than the competitors. So problem solution with the hook problem solution is, that's not every video, but that's a great template.
I was going to say, that's a good framework definitely to follow. Yeah. And I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, you can almost take the same stuff and you can incorporate it into almost anything you do. Writing an email, right? It's like hook, then when you get them hooked, you want to let them know, I didn't just trick you. It's actually useful, right? Like,
Yep.
so you have to kind of do that. That's good stuff. I like that. That's good tips. Now, you said you're also using this with Amazon brands, like that are selling product on Amazon. How are you doing this? Are you doing this in like sponsored ad posts and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, sponsored videos are the secret of Amazon right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing a bunch of sponsored video. So everyone has access to sponsored videos now. A month ago, it was only brand registered, right?
Okay.
So sponsored videos are, they got to be 16:9. And there's, specific specs that you need,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, our ACOS, our ROAS on those our ROAS is double all of our other PPC ads. So, it's incredible. So if you think about that, you spend $3,000 on a video and it doubles your ROAS. You're literally going to pay for that video in 2 weeks to a month. Right. And then it's free. And then you get to use it forever. It's like when you people think about content and they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to cost me X, or it's hard to do. And it is hard to do. It's why my company exists, because it's a problem out there in the e-commerce community. Right.
Of course, yeah.
Right. And it's the other thing that I want to say though, is that the reason video is important and the reason we're all here on this podcast with Scott is because he's a human being who we all think is somebody that we want to listen to and talk to. People want to buy from human beings, and video is the best at that. Right. So there's nothing like audio is really good. Audio is second best.
Yeah.
But video is best. And so it's probably why you're like, okay, the podcast was originally just a podcast, right?
Yep.
And then at a certain point you're like, man, I got to upgrade this. It's got to be video. It's got to be on YouTube.
Yep.
So when you see Scott's face and you're like, oh man, he's like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
It's
you can see inflection, energy, all of that stuff, Yeah. For sure.
There's all this human stuff that is under the surface, subconscious human things going on when we are on video calls. I mean, this whole COVID thing where we switched over to like now normal phone calls or video calls.
Yep.
You know how this happened? I love this.
Yep.
Like I'm interviewing new people to hire at Butter. And I'm like, the very first thing, let's get on a Zoom call. I don't need to travel around LA to find you. Let's get on a Zoom call, because when I see you in person, there's something there. Right. So don't forget, humans want to buy from humans, right? Humans want to buy a brand. So when you talk about building a brand, that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the brand story. We're talking about, and it doesn't always have to be you. It doesn't have to be your face, but the brand wants to be human. And that's how, how do you get those stories out is through, really good copy, through really good copywriting, really good video, really good audio, really good, So to answer your question, back to Amazon, we're using video on every single listing. So if you have 6 photos, your 7th image slot can be a video. Okay. You can put video in related video shorts. And so you actually have 3 spots, and then sponsored video. And you can put them on your Amazon brand store pages as well. But then the thing that's epic about this is you create this one piece of content, and you can use it on your website. You can use it on your social. You can use it on Pinterest. So we put, I love that you talk about Pinterest. Pinterest is a gold mine. Yep. It's a gold mine.
Oh yeah, I know. We
put all of our content, every single thing we create. This my social media girl. She creates every piece of content we put up everywhere. Right. And it's like, hey, we already created this. So, might as well, you have to do these things right. You can't just, or you're going to get so much more juice out of the squeeze if you actually put hashtags up on, you actually do the keyword work on Pinterest. So, but our videos are killing it on Pinterest organically. So, we have, thousands and thousands of impressions. I want to tell you about my whole funnel that I have for one of my e-commerce brands. I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we got time. We always got time for a funnel.
Okay. So we have, this doesn't have to do with video, but I just think for your audience that they'll like it. So we have, it's simple. And you talk about this for years, insert cards, whatever. It's very simple. So we're selling lots of product. Our Amazon brands are probably, I think we'll hit 8 figures this year.
Oh, wow.
So so we're doing a lot of business. It's going well. And we, every single product that we sell, and we've done this since 2017, I think, has an insert card in there that says for 20% off your next order. And this is not it's not against TOS. I mean, maybe like it's inside the box and it says 20% off, go to our website. And we have 20,000 people, 22,000 people on an email list. Nice. We have 22,000 on Instagram, and we have just thousands and thousands of impressions per week on Pinterest, all from that funnel where you have an insert card they go to your website, then you retarget them. So we retarget after, so they come to our website and they shop. If they purchase or not, we retarget them on Facebook with ads, and we're spending, $20-$30 a day. It's not expensive.
Right.
And anybody who goes from Pinterest to our website gets retargeted then on Facebook. It's a very simple thing. You talk about it all the time. It's like from an insert card to the website to retargeting. And so our ROAS on our Facebook ads is like 2. So crazy. For those of you who don't know that, it's pretty good. And so every $100 we spend, we make 200. Right. So it's a very, yeah. And it's because the reason it's 2 is because we're retargeting. This is not cold traffic, right?
Well, here's the deal on that. And I think you'll agree, is like, you can't expect someone to purchase the minute that they see your first ad. Right.
That's right.
So all you're doing is you're showing up. Like, you might be on my email list, you get an email. You might see me on Facebook. You might see me on Instagram. You might see me over on Pinterest, and you start to be that billboard that you start turning the corner. You're like, oh, there's that billboard again. Oh, there's that billboard again. Oh, there's that billboard again. So you basically are showing up all over the place, with it not being that difficult with retargeting, how easy it is nowadays.
That's right.
So
yeah, that's right. And if you're literally creating a piece of content, so if you create this video with us, or you have a team that's a social team, or you're creating the content for your social, man, just post that on Pinterest. Just get that on there. And then every once in a while you see, oh my gosh, I don't know if you've seen this, Scott, but you see like, this content is really working on Pinterest. There's like every 10th post really like gets way more impressions. And you're like, wow. What we do when that happens is we will then boost that post on Pinterest. So we'll let organic information tell us what people like, and then we boost it. Right. Okay. That's a nice little hack, huh? Because
I like that.
It's almost like, your idea of like proving the concept before you spend the money on it. Right. Yeah. It's nice. You can really tell the difference on Pinterest, that some things really pop. And maybe it's the product itself, or the way the image is, or the way you did hashtags or whatever, but then you just boost it with a couple bucks.
Yeah. I'm curious how that would work with even like brand creator stuff that I'm doing. You know what I mean? I've dabbled a little bit in Pinterest for that brand. Not a ton, but I would definitely be interested in posting some video up there on Pinterest and just seeing what happens. And then if something starts to take a little bit, then adding a little bit of ad money behind it, like, be worth a test. Maybe I'll test that out. Yeah.
For sure. Pinterest is a focus of theirs. So I don't know about you, but I get calls from Pinterest all the time. They're trying to get me to spend more money on their platform. So their ad people call me all the time. And they've told us, so they met, I didn't meet with them personally, but my social media team did. And they were like, video. So you guys can see Pinterest. So Facebook, if we just look back at the history of Facebook, it was 0 video. And now it's what, 80% video?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's almost a video platform. It's almost like YouTube, right? YouTube they say YouTube is its number 1 competitor. And YouTube is just insanely massive. By the way, I didn't mention YouTube. When you create your video, you put it up on YouTube too. So, right. It's the 10 minutes of like, hey, I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and the extra 13 minutes of I'm going to actually research the tags, the keywords to put there. Right. You need to do both those things. But it's, if you spend $3,000 on a video, then you start put it up. It's.
What would be your first place that you would drop that video? Like, like that you feel like you're going to get the best ROI
for, like, what kind of video are we talking about? That kind of commercial we create or whatever for our product?
Let's do the commercial one. And then let's just do another random one. Like if you were creating a Facebook ad, let's say, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you're doing a Facebook ad, you're going to start it there on Facebook, but I guess then what would be the next one? Would it be Pinterest? Would it be YouTube? I know you're doing them all, but if you only could select one other one, what would it be?
Yeah. YouTube. I think, because the YouTube's amazing because, it lives there forever. Facebook goes away. right?
Yep.
So, and YouTube's a search engine. It's the number 2 search engine in the world, where you search for, if you're doing how to do this, or here's 5 ways to X, you got to put it up on YouTube. Right. That, for sure. And you got to make sure that it's a search platform. So you got to make sure, just like you understand on Amazon or whatever, or Google search, you got to be able to find it. So it has to be SEO'd, you know, but it's not rocket science. But
no, it's not. I mean, even just the most basic SEO is going to be better than nothing.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I think it all does start with the title, and then now tags. And I'm hearing that Facebook is starting to lean a little bit more on hashtags. I'm seeing people starting to add them more. And so I don't know if there's something behind that. I was actually just talking to my one of my partners, and she was saying, like, yeah, she's seeing that there's a lot more attention going on hashtags. And I actually, was funny because I just posted a video the other day, and Facebook was reminding me to add hashtags because it could get me more reach. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this. So I don't know. But probably worth the 5 minutes to throw some hashtags.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, totally.
Who cares?
Totally.
No, man, this has been really good. And I know you and I could jam for another hour on just video and marketing in general.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit more about your company, and like, if someone wanted to hire you, what does that look like? Because some people will think that they're too small of a brand for you to work with them. So give us a kind of an idea, like, when is someone ready to hire you? And then what does that process look like? Like, I want to create, some video content for my Amazon listing, or I want to create a video for my Facebook ad or something like that. What's that look like?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of, taking action, like Scott says, and don't overthink this. And don't, if you don't feel like you have the budget, let me give you just a real quick one. I think, Scott, you say this all the time. Get your phone out. You've got an HD camera in your pocket. Yeah. And that thing can look good. And obviously it can look bad. We all know there's iPhone videos look terrible. Yeah. Don't shoot in the shade and then have the background like blown out sun. Right. Right. So there's things like that. Let me give you, so if you're doing a physical product, just put it by a window on a table near, and so it's like an open shade, and shoot your product, and do a little unboxing of your product in a nice, like, indoor, so but bright light with your phone, and make sure the phone, you say this too, Scott, make sure the phone is on tripod so that it looks still. Or if you are the brand, face of the brand, turn that camera on yourself and tell your story. Why'd you start this company? Why does it matter? What is this digital product you're creating, and why? People connect with that. And the reason that works, the selfie thing works, is because people know that that's you doing a selfie. It's supposed to look like that, right? It's supposed to look like that. So it's like completely authentic. If you try to do like a pro video and you don't know what you're doing, then it looks like you don't know what you're doing. But if you're doing a selfie video, it looks like a selfie video. It's exactly like it's supposed to look. And we're all used to seeing that on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And you could use that as as an Instagram ad. In fact, as a professional company, we do this where we'll reach out to influencers and say, hey, can you make a selfie video for us for this? So it's as part of your funnel, middle of funnel, testimonials are incredible. Right. So you can do it yourself. We do that. I do that. I'm like, okay, hey, I started this brand because of this, blah, 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 with my phone, because I wanted to look like a phone video. So, you want to kind of think it through, but you can absolutely create content with your phone that works. Okay. And it can be your first, Facebook ad. That could be great for a phone, or like a little product video, or there's a bunch of other things, but I wouldn't try to do like a pro thing, with your phone, because it kind of like works against itself. So if you're at the stage, I would say if you're making $500,000 in revenue, and you want to get going with some pro content, by the way, we're doing split tests all the time. And I'm sorry to say that pro video wins, and it doesn't win in every context. Like I was just saying, on Facebook ads, it doesn't always win. Facebook ads is a place for organic content really works. Sure. Right. But pro video, if you're going to do a commercial, we did one where we did a split test, and we're like, put the exact same keywords on the ads, and we ran a pro video and a very simple video, and the pro video just dominated, because it really is, it showcases the product in such a way that it's like, oh wow, that thing looks cool. right? So if I mean, we work with brands of all sizes. I started out at zero and needed help. So we work with brands of all sizes. And if you want us to do like your listing, your content, your photos and your videos for your e-commerce brand or for your digital product or for your Amazon store, all three of those things can be the same content. It starts at like $2,500. It's not crazy expensive to do all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've got 20 products, then that adds up. But yeah, you can, and what we do, Scott, is I think we're like you, we're sort of educational too. We want you to be able to grow and scale the way that you want to. We're here to help. And our sort of philosophy is we'll give you the keys to the kingdom. And you can go do it yourself. No problem. We'll even help you find places like animoto.com or whatever that can help you sort of create videos without hiring us. And what we do is if you go to butter.la, you can get on a strategy session with us and it's a free 30 minutes. We will give you as much value as we can. And then, you're at $500,000 now, then in a year and a half, you're going to be at $1 million, $2 million, and you're going to call us and say, hey, I need help now.
Yeah.
So that's sort of our philosophy. And maybe that's similar, right?
Oh, very much. And I know Joe Valley, our mutual friend, that's what their company's built on. It's like helping people way before they're ready even. And then that just builds that know, like, and trust element. That's so exactly powerful. Right. You know what I mean? So I just had a lady this morning. She was on my coffee talk and she was like, I've been following you for over 5 years and I'm thinking about joining your academy. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, it was like 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I mean, she's still part of my community and she's shared and she's been there and she's engaged, but that's how it works. Right. So yeah, relationships with your potential customers is just as important as the ones that are with your customers, because they will become customers, eventually. Yeah. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the effort. But I love that. And I think everything that you shared here is actionable for people. Like, just think about keeping it simple. I love what you said there. And I do think it depends. If you're trying to sell a product, that video should be crisp and clean and right. If you're doing it as an unboxing, you get a little bit of forgiveness there because it's an unboxing, right? Right. Yep. But if I'm looking to buy a set of earbuds and it's just a shaky video and it's like, oh, I'm going to buy these things and this is the company video, it kind of makes me feel like it's a junky product.
That's exactly right. Yep.
But if I'm watching customer testimonials, I don't want them to be polished studio. I want them to be on a phone, maybe a little shaky, vertical. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to be real and raw and authentic. So anything else you want to wrap up with here? This has been awesome. I definitely want to have you get back on here though, so we can just focus all the time on like tactics and video and all of that fun stuff that we love jamming on. Anything else you want to leave people with? Or, I mean, and again, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you. I know you just mentioned a strategy call, but maybe mention that again.
Yeah, there's a strategy call link on butter.la. So that's just www.butter, like the food, butter.la. Or you can email me at Judson at butter.la as well. But it's back in the day when I first started and I listened to Scott. It's so easy not to take action. It really is. And I know, this is just a major focus of yours, Scott. You write your book, right? I haven't read it, but the
Take Action Effect.
It's I mean, I just want to implore, you cannot underestimate the power. It's like, I literally listened to Scott and I took one step at a time and I launched. So I launched Amazon with an iPhone case. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's selling. I didn't know but I took action. You guys, imperfect action is so much better than overthinking. True. Try stuff. And like I said, pivot. And you will know when you're like, oh my gosh, that worked. Like you launch 6 digital products, right, Scott? Or you launch 6 physical products. 2 of those kill it. And 4 of them are just okay. One of them's 3 of them are just okay. One's terrible. Yeah. And then you scale the things that work. That's what people do. That's what Amazon does. And Jeff Bezos is like, I'm going to try a phone and it flopped completely. Right. Yeah. I'm going to try this, right. It's like he's pivot until he goes bigger than anybody. Yeah. He's like, oh, I guess I'm a logistics company because that worked and he just went big. Right.
Right.
So
that's good.
That's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway for people is do not, try things, take action, build that site, do it.
Yeah. No, I love it. Judson, thank you, man. This has been awesome. And it's great that I'm actually able to talk to like one of my original listeners. So that's that's even cooler. Yeah. So this has been awesome. And I'm so glad to see you so successful. And I mean, the Amazon brands that you launched, but now this, the video company, and it's something I could tell you're passionate about, which I think, like you said, if you're passionate about it, like, just there's nothing stopping you. And I know that this is going to be a great thing for you and all the people you're helping. Cause I think that's the byproduct of anything that we're doing is you're helping all of these people really grow their brands to help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. So once again, man, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll get you back on, I promise. And just guys, go on out there and check out Judson and butter.la. I love the name. And just keep taking action, like Judson said. So thank you again, man. I appreciate you. All right. Well, there you have it. Another great episode. And man, I'll tell you what, I just love being able to do these Wednesday episodes because they're not necessarily always about one area of business. It's about a story of someone that's been down the road of, becoming and remaining an entrepreneur, because everybody's road is different, but there are some similarities. And I hope that you can see that when you are listening to these episodes and really just kind of understanding that we all will face these sooner or later. It's just a matter of, do we press on? Do we continue to move forward? And that's what I'm a huge fan of. It's like, just keep moving forward, keep taking action. And these Wednesday episodes are here for you to listen to other people's stories so you can say, hey, that person did it. I can do it. I've been there. I'm not the only one. Okay. And you can also learn something, just like we dug into some storytelling stuff with Judson, which I'm probably going to have him come back on, and we'll do a more of a strategy or even tactic type episode where he can give us some really good things that we can try inside of our videos if you're creating any, or even just in our storytelling in general. All right. So I'm going to probably get him back on so we can do that. So now, like I said in the very beginning, one of the things that we just wrapped up was our digital product creation workshop. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because in your business, you want to create assets, whether that's video assets, like we just experienced with Judson talking about that, or we create that asset, that digital asset, and then bring people over to our digital assets that they can buy. Okay. Now, if you do not have a digital product yet in your business, I would encourage you to head on over and check out brandcreators.com/digital. That is a workshop that we just wrapped up, depending on when you're listening to this, that will walk you through in under 3 hours exactly how to create your first digital product and sell it within the first 30 days. That is the goal of the workshop, and I would love for you to attend. This way here, we can have digital assets that people can pay for, and we can create these other assets that lead people over to the things that they can buy. And we can use some of the things that we learned here today in this episode with Judson. All right, guys, so check it out, brandcreators.com/digital. All right, and also check out Judson. Check him out over there at butter.la. It's a really great site. It's a really great business. And hey, if you need any help with video, check him out. It's a great guy. All right, guys, so that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I am rooting for you. But you have to, come on, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode. Now let's rock your brand.